I came back to the Valen house with a cheap suitcase, a stitched-up winter coat, and a name that didn't match any of their framed portraits. The security gate recognized my face anyway. It blinked green and chirped "Welcome home," as if algorithms were kinder than blood. Behind the gate, the estate rose like a museum built for people who never wanted to be questioned. Marble steps, heated glass, a koi pond that reflected the sky so perfectly it looked like the water owned the clouds. I stood there with my hands in my pockets and tried not to laugh. 14 years ago, I was found in a recycling depot behind the South Rail Depot, wrapped in a hospital blanket stamped with a logo that wasn't ours. 14 years ago, a nurse had signed my wristband with the wrong surname. 14 years ago, someone paid to make that mistake permanent. And now, because the city's new identity audit had uncovered a DNA mismatch in the Valen lineage, I was the missing daughter they were required to retrieve. Required. Like a product recall. Like a defect they could fix with paperwork. My name is Iona Cade. The name came from a woman named Cade who ran a salvage yard and fed me noodles out of dented tins until her hands shook too badly to hold chopsticks. Cade taught me how to spot a lie by watching where people refuse to look. She also taught me how to fix broken things, appliances, locks, cheap drones, and eventually, contracts. When Cade died, she left me a shoebox full of receipts, rent stubs, medicine invoices, letters she never sent, and one laminated hospital tag with my infant footprint pressed in ink. She said in her last lucid hour, "Keep your paper. Paper tells the truth when mouths don't." I kept the shoebox. I kept the habit. In Gray Harbor, where the rich paid to erase consequences, the only weapon poor people got to keep was documentation. The Valens met me in their entry hall as if staging a charitable photo. Mother Maris Valen stood with her hands clasped like prayer. Father Edrin smiled with the careful stiffness of a man negotiating a merger. The eldest brother, Cassian, watched me like an error code. The younger brother, Jace, hovered behind him, brows knitted, uncertain whether to hate me or memorize me. And then there was Lyra, the girl everyone had called daughter for 16 years. Lyra's eyes were red-rimmed, cheeks damp, lips trembling in a way that might have been genuine if it hadn't been so perfectly timed with everyone else's gaze. She stepped forward first, voice small. "I'm so sorry," she said. "If it were up to me, I'd give you everything that should have been yours." Cassian's arm wrapped around her shoulder, protective, possessive. He glared at me like I'd brought a plague. "She's been through enough," he snapped. "Don't you dare come in here and make her feel like she's stolen something." I blinked slowly, then looked past him to the grand staircase. 2 hallways branched off, one leading to the sunlit wing with tall windows, the other to a shadowed corridor where even the wallpaper looked tired. A familiar test, dressed in expensive silk, the kind of test that asked, "Will you accept crumbs politely?" "Which room is mine?" I asked. My voice came out calm, which surprised me. I expected anger, but anger takes energy, and I had spent my life paying energy bills. Father cleared his throat. "We prepared options," he said, and gestured toward the 2 hallways like a game show host. Mother smiled too brightly. "You can choose what feels comfortable," she said. Lyra sniffed and whispered, "Take mine. I don't want you to feel unwelcome." Cassian tightened his grip on Lyra's shoulder. Jace stared at his shoes as if hoping the floor would answer. I walked toward the sunlit wing without asking permission. The bigger door was half open, and the air inside smelled faintly of perfume and warm circuitry. There was a vanity covered in cosmetics, a wardrobe filled with color-coded dresses, and a bedside charging dock blinking with a personalized home assistant. This room was inhabited, not prepared. I turned back. "You want me to choose," I said evenly, "so you can pretend whatever happens next was my decision." Silence. Then Cassian scoffed. "Don't be dramatic." I pulled Cade's shoebox from my suitcase and set it on the polished entry table with a soft thud. The sound was small but decisive. "I'm not dramatic," I said. "I'm documented." I stepped fully into Lyra's room and opened the closet. At the back, behind the silk dresses, a safe was bolted into the wall. The keypad had smudges, the kind that show frequent use. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. I turned to my parents. "If you wanted to give me a room," I said, "you would have cleared it. You would have removed her things. You didn't. You kept them to make her cry, and you kept the smaller room to make me prove I'm grateful." Mother's smile slipped. Father's eyes sharpened with calculation. Cassian's face darkened. "You don't know anything about us," he spat. I nodded. "True," I said, "but I know patterns." I looked at Lyra. "Are you sure you want to give me this room?" I asked. Lyra's eyes flicked to Mother, then to Cassian, then back to me. "Yes," she whispered. "No one is forcing me." "Good," I said. "Then you won't resent it later." I turned to Father. "Do you agree?" I asked. "Without conditions?" Father hesitated for a fraction of a second. That was all it took. I smiled slightly. "That hesitation is the whole story," I said. Then I rolled my suitcase inside and shut the door behind me. I heard Lyra's sobs through the wood. I heard Mother whispering comfort. I heard Cassian mutter something about ingratitude. I leaned against the door and breathed out slowly. Cade would have called it my first invoice. The bill would come due later. At dinner, the bill arrived quickly. The table was long enough to make conversation feel like shouting across water. Silverware glittered. A chef appeared and disappeared like a trained ghost. Cassian spoke first, addressing my parents as if I weren't there. "We can't just uproot Lyra," he said. "She has school, friends, sponsors. Her scholarship gala is next month. The press will ask questions." Father folded his napkin carefully. "The audit required we acknowledge Iona's identity," he said. "It did not require we harm Lyra." Mother nodded, eyes soft. "Lyra is our child," she said. The sentence hit my chest like a thumb on a bruise. I set my fork down. "And what am I?" I asked. Cassian's gaze snapped to me. "A stranger," he said. Jace flinched, as if the cruelty startled even him. Lyra made a small broken sound. Mother reached toward Lyra instinctively. Not me. The reflex was so practiced it looked like muscle memory. I stared at their hands. Then I opened my phone and tapped once. The audio recorder icon lit. I set it on the table, face up. "Great," I said pleasantly. "Let's keep the receipts." Cassian's eyes widened. Father's mouth tightened. Mother's hand froze midair. Lyra swallowed hard. Only Jace looked curious, like he'd found a puzzle he couldn't ignore. "Turn that off," Cassian ordered. I didn't move. "Why?" I asked. "Are you afraid your words might be remembered?" Cassian's jaw clenched. "This is private." I tilted my head. "My entire childhood was public," I said softly. "The depot, the foster system, the unpaid medical bills. People watched me struggle like it was weather. Private is a luxury you don't get to demand from someone you've never protected." Father's voice went cold. "We will provide for you," he said, "but you must understand that Lyra," I repeated, smiling, "is a person you raised. I don't blame her for being raised. I blame you for treating my existence like a complication." Mother's eyes filled with tears. She reached for my hand across the table, then hesitated, as if afraid touching me would be a betrayal to Lyra. That hesitation hurt more than any insult. Jace finally spoke. "Do you hate her?" he asked, nodding toward Lyra. I looked at him. His face was younger than his posture, as if he'd been forced into loyalty roles too early. "No," I said. "I hate the architecture," Cassian scoffed. "Speak normal," he snapped. I smiled again. "Fine," I said. "I hate the way you built a house where love is a limited resource and everyone fights over crumbs." Silence again. The chef returned with soup and pretended not to hear. The recorder kept blinking patiently. That little red dot felt like a witness in a room full of rehearsed amnesia. After dinner, Father asked me into his office. The door shut with a soft seal. The room smelled like leather and ink, a curated scent of authority. He gestured to a chair. I didn't sit until he did. Cade taught me that whoever sits first often sets the tone. Father studied me. "You are direct," he said. I gave a small nod. "I'm efficient," I replied. His mouth twitched, almost amused. "We can be efficient too," he said. He opened a drawer and slid a folder across the desk. "We want you comfortable here," he said. "Here is an allowance, a private tutor plan, and a statement you can post online to calm speculation. We can introduce you as a cousin raised elsewhere. Discretion protects everyone." I flipped the folder open. The allowance was generous. The tutor plan was elite. The statement was a lie. I looked up. "You want to keep Lyra's story intact," I said. Father didn't deny it. "She has done nothing wrong," he said. I I closed the folder gently. And neither did I said. Father's eyes hardened. What do you want? He asked. The question sounded like negotiation, not love. I took out Cade's laminated hospital tag and placed it on his desk. I want the second receipt, I said. He frowned. What does that mean? I leaned forward. Someone paid to swap us, I said. That money went somewhere. That's a receipt you don't want me to find. Father's face went very still. Careful, he murmured. I smiled, not politely. Not cruelly, just truthfully. I've been careful my whole life, I said. Now I'm going to be accurate. That night, I didn't sleep in the bed. I sat on the floor with my suitcase open and my shoebox of receipts spread around me like tarot. The Velan Estates House AI whispered occasionally, gentle reminders to hydrate, to rest, to optimize circadian rhythm. I ignored it. My phone's identity audit app still displayed my match. 99.98% genetic alignment with Edrin and Maris. The last 0.02% felt like a laugh. I opened the Valen family public filings, because rich people hide crimes behind paperwork, the way poor people hide shame behind jokes. I searched for the year of the swap. 16 years ago. A donation spike, a hush settlement, a hospital wing refurbishment, a consulting fee paid to a company that didn't exist anymore. I highlighted each irregularity and saved screenshots. Paper. Evidence. Cade's voice echoed. Keep your paper. I fell asleep on the floor with my head on the shoebox and woke up at dawn to a message from an unknown number. Stop digging or you'll bury yourself. The message included a photo of Cade's grave. My stomach turned to ice. The Valens hadn't killed her. She died of pneumonia and debt, but someone had been watching us long enough to know where she rested. Someone wanted me afraid. Good. Fear is data too. At breakfast, I acted normal. Normal, in a mansion, meant quiet chewing and smiling at servants you could barely see. Lyra sat pale, eyes swollen. Cassian avoided looking at me, as if denying my existence might reverse reality. Jace stared at his cereal like it held secrets. Mother kept glancing between Lyra and me, torn. Father scanned news feeds on a tablet. The audit office scheduled a follow-up, he said. A compliance interview. They want photos. A family statement. Cassian bristled. We won't parade her, he said, meaning me, with a disdainful flick of his eyes. Father sighed. We must, he said. Then he looked at me. Please cooperate, he added, as if cooperation were affection. I swallowed my bitterness. I'll cooperate, I said. But we do it on my terms. Cassian laughed, sharp. Your terms? He repeated. I met his gaze. Yes, I said. No lies. No cousin story. And I keep my own name. Mother flinched. Cade, she whispered, as if tasting the word. I nodded once. She raised me, I said. Her name is part of my body. Father's jaw tightened. The press will be cruel, he warned. I shrugged. I've met cruelty, I said. It's not new. What's new is that I won't pretend it's love. The compliance interview happened in a sterile government building with walls the color of apology. A clerk with a too bright smile asked us to sit in a semicircle for the camera. Family unity, she chirped. Cassian's arm wrapped around Lyra again. Mother hovered. Father adjusted his tie. The clerk asked questions. How are you integrating? Are there disputes? Do you require mediation? My phone's recorder sat in my pocket, running. When the clerk asked, Do you feel welcomed? I answered honestly. I feel managed, I said. The clerk's smile faltered. Cassian hissed. Stop it. I turned to the clerk. May I submit supplementary evidence? I asked. The clerk blinked. Evidence of what? She asked. Evidence that my identity was not a clerical error but a transaction, I said. The room went quiet. Father's head snapped toward me. Mother's hand trembled. Cassian's eyes flashed with fury. Lyra stared at me, shocked. Jace leaned forward, suddenly alert. The clerk swallowed. That is serious, she said. I nodded once again. Yes, I answered, which is why I'd like an investigator assigned. Father's voice went tight. There's no need, he said quickly. We are handling internal matters. I smiled at the clerk. Internal handling is how crimes become traditions, I said. The clerk's fingers hovered over her keyboard like a cautious spider. "I will file a report," she said, voice less cheerful now. My phone vibrated with a private notification. Inquiry opened. Someone in the system had listened. That alone felt like a crack in the marble. Back home, Cassian cornered me in the hallway. His face was controlled fury, the kind that has been taught to wear suits. "What are you trying to do?" he demanded. "Destroy us?" I looked at him. Up close, his eyes were tired, not because he cared, but because he was used to holding a family's image together with his bare hands. "I'm trying to find the person who bought my life," I said. Cassian scoffed. "No one bought you," he snapped. I raised my phone. "Then why did someone threaten me with Cade's grave?" I asked. Cassian's expression shifted just a flicker. Not disbelief. Recognition. He knew something. He recovered quickly. "You're paranoid," he said. I stepped closer. "I'm prepared," I replied. "There's a difference." Cassian's hand twitched as if he wanted to grab my phone. I lifted my chin. "Touch me," I said quietly, "and the recorder becomes public." Cassian froze. Then, in a voice so low it felt like confession, he said, "You don't understand what you're poking." I smiled without humor. "I understand leverage," I said. "Cade taught me with broken nails and rent notices. You taught Lyra with gala invitations. Different curriculum. Same subject." Cassian's jaw clenched. He stormed away. Jace, who had been listening from the staircase, stepped forward after Cassian left. "Was it, Dad?" he whispered. The question was a knife. I didn't answer. I didn't know yet. But I could see, in Jace's face, the first crack in blind loyalty. He wanted truth more than he wanted comfort. That could be dangerous or beautiful. Probably both. School started a week later. Father insisted I enroll at Halcyon Academy, Gray Harbor's most expensive private school, where teenagers learned Latin and networking like twin languages. They put me in the senior cohort despite my different curriculum because Valen children don't repeat years. The hallways smelled like polished wood and old money. Students wore uniforms tailored to fit their bodies like they had been designed in a lab. They watched me walk by with the hungry curiosity of people who had never been poor but loved stories about it. Whispers followed. "That's her, the swapped one." "Is she feral?" Someone asked to take a photo with me as if I were a celebrity. I declined. I didn't want fame. I wanted receipts. Lyra attended the same school, of course, surrounded by friends who treated her like a wounded saint. Cassian had arranged for her to receive support and protection, which meant gossip shields and extra security. The first day, Lyra approached me near the courtyard fountain. "I didn't ask for this," she said, voice shaking. I studied her. She was pretty in the way magazines teach girls to be. She also looked genuinely terrified. "Neither did I said. She flinched. "People hate me now," she whispered. I glanced at the students watching from a distance, their faces lit with spectacle. "They don't hate you," I said. "They envy your tragedy. It's fashionable." Lyra swallowed. "Cassian says you're trying to take everything," she murmured. I looked at her. "I don't want your dresses," I said. "I want the truth." Lyra's eyes flickered. "There is no truth," she whispered. "Only what they tell us." I almost felt sorry. Then I remembered Cade's grave photo. Sorry would not protect me. "Then I'll find what they didn't tell you," I said. Lyra's face went pale, and she backed away like I'd spoken a forbidden spell. At Halcyon, power moved through clubs and favors. Cassian's shadow followed me even there. Teachers suddenly stricter, students suddenly colder. A rumor spread that I had stolen from a donation box at a shelter as a child. A second rumor claimed I had assaulted a foster parent. The stories weren't credible, but credibility isn't the point of rumor. Repetition is. I sat in calculus class and listened to whispers like mosquitoes. I could have fought each lie individually, but Cade taught me not to swat at every insect when you can drain the swamp. So I watched. Who started the rumors? Who repeated them? Who benefited? By the end of the week, I had a list of names and a map of influence. Lyra's friend group, a student council officer whose father was on the Valen corporate board, a teacher who owed father a donation. I also had something better. The school's internal messaging system was sloppy. A careless senior named Van left his admin access open in a computer lab. I didn't hack it. I didn't have to. I copied what was visible. Logs, timestamps, message threads about containing the narrative. One message from a private account read, "Make sure the Cade girl doesn't speak at the Founders Gala." Another message, "If she brings up the swap, frame it as mental instability." The account name was a nickname I recognized from Cassian's old public posts. My stomach tightened. The swamp had a shape now. I went to Juno Sablethorn next, not a lawyer this time, but Halcyon's guidance counselor, an older woman rumored to have once worked in the audit office before quitting for moral reasons. She wore plain sweaters in a school that preferred designer suits. I asked for 5 minutes. She gave me 30, because she looked at my face and saw a girl used to being dismissed. I placed printed screenshots on her desk. "They're coordinating harassment," I said. Juno read silently, eyes sharp. Then she exhaled. "You're not stupid," she said. "That's going to make people panic." I nodded again. "I want the harassment to stop," I said. "But mostly I want to know who paid the hospital." Juno's eyes darkened. "Hospitals keep records," she said, "but records get lost when money asks nicely." I leaned forward. "Money asked nicely," I said. Someone answered. "I want their name." Juno tapped the paper. "This," she said, "is enough to file a formal complaint with the school and the audit office. But you need to understand, institutions protect donors." A small smile tugged at my mouth. "Then we make donors toxic," I said. Juno studied me for a long moment, then nodded once. "I'll help," she said, "but you follow my rules. No illegal access, no violence, no reckless public stunts." I lifted my hands. "Paper only," I said. Juno's mouth twitched. "You and your paper," she murmured. "All right, let's build a file so heavy it can't be ignored." The gala was scheduled for the end of the month, a glittering fundraiser where students performed gratitude for wealthy patrons. Father was keynote. Cassian would host. Lyra was the symbol. And I, officially, was supposed to appear on stage as a reunited daughter, smiling for cameras while the school basked in its own virtue. I agreed to attend, not because I wanted the stage, but because stages have microphones, and microphones can become evidence if you prepare correctly. Juno and I drafted a complaint and filed it a week before the gala with the audit office, citing coordinated harassment and possible cover-up related to my identity swap. We attached logs, screenshots, and statements from 2 students who admitted they were pressured to spread rumors. One of those students was Vaughn, trembling, because he'd realized the swamp could swallow him too. When the audit officer assigned to the case called me in, she was polite but cautious, like someone handling a live wire. "Do you have reason to believe your parents were involved?" she asked. I paused. "I have reason to believe someone in the Valen orbit orchestrated narrative control," I said. "I don't have proof of the original payment yet." The officer nodded. "If you obtain that proof, submit it immediately," she said. Her eyes flicked to my folder. "And be careful." The warning sounded sincere. That scared me more than cynicism would have. Sincere warnings mean danger is real. A week later, someone broke into my room at the estate. Not to steal jewelry I had none, but to steal my shoebox. I returned from school to find the lid ajar. Receipts scattered. Cade's laminated tag missing. My throat closed. I searched frantically, hands shaking. In the corner, under the bed, the tag lay half crushed. A boot print marked it. The intruder wanted me to know. "I can step on your history." I sat on the floor and breathed until the panic stopped clawing. Then I did what Cade taught me when a lock was broken. I replaced it with something harder. I scanned every receipt, photographed every page, uploaded them to 3 encrypted drives, and mailed copies to Juno's office. Then I left a note on my desk in plain sight. "You can take paper, but you can't take memory." Under it, I placed a cheap motion camera I'd built from salvage parts, lens facing the door. If they came back, they'd pay me in footage. The gala night arrived with cold wind and artificial warmth. Halcyon's auditorium glittered with chandeliers and donors' laughter. Students in uniform held trays of drinks like trained satellites. Father stood backstage, rehearsing his smile. Mother adjusted Lyra's hair with trembling fingers, whispering comfort. Cassian paced, checking his earpiece, whispering orders to security. Jace hovered near me, silent. He had been quieter lately, more observant. He glanced at my hands. "Are you going to do something?" he asked. I met his eyes. "I'm going to do what they scheduled," I said. "Just not how they expect." Jace swallowed. "Lyra is scared," he murmured. I looked across the room. Lyra's face was pale, lips pressed tight. She avoided looking at me. "I'm scared too," I said. "But fear doesn't get to drive." The stage manager called our names. We walked out into the light. Applause rose like programmed sound. Father began his speech about community, legacy, and the miracle of modern identity systems. Then he invited me to the microphone. A spotlight hit me. The crowd leaned forward, hungry. I took the mic and smiled. "Thank you," I said, voice steady. "I'm grateful to be here." Cassian relaxed a fraction. Father's shoulders eased. Mother's eyes shone with relief. Then I added, "And I'm grateful to the identity audit for revealing what a hospital mistake hid." Murmurs. I held up Cade's laminated tag between my fingers. Gasps. Cassian stiffened. "This is the tag from the day I was born," I said. "It was nearly destroyed in my room last week. Someone wants it gone. Someone wants the story clean." Father's face tightened, still smiling for cameras. Cassian's eyes widened, sharp with panic. I continued, gentle, almost polite. "I'm not here to blame a child raised in my place," I said, nodding toward Lyra. Lyra flinched. "I'm here to ask a simple question. Who paid for the swap?" The auditorium went quiet enough to hear the air system hum. Father's smile held, but his eyes went flat. Cassian stepped forward, whispering, "Stop." I didn't. "We have evidence," I said, "that this school coordinated harassment to silence me. We have evidence submitted to the audit office. And tonight," I paused, "I would like to invite anyone with knowledge of the hospital transaction to speak to investigators, because paper doesn't vanish just because wealth wants it to." The crowd erupted into whispers. Phones lifted. Cassian grabbed my arm, hard. I yanked away. "Don't touch," I said into the microphone, loud enough for cameras. Cassian's hand froze midair. Father's voice cut in smoothly. "What my daughter means," he said, "is that we all deserve clarity." I turned to him. "Yes," I replied. "Clarity, not spin." The gala ended in chaos hidden under politeness. Donors left early, murmuring about scandal. Teachers tried to herd students away from cameras. Cassian dragged Father into a side room, voices raised. Mother cried silently in a hallway, torn between daughters like a rope being pulled in two directions. Lyra ran to the restroom and vomited. I stood in the emptying auditorium with Jace beside me. His hands shook. He began. "I just made it impossible to pretend," I said. Jace swallowed. "They'll hate you," he whispered. I lifted one shoulder. "They already did," I said. "Now at least it's honest." Juno arrived, breathless, and squeezed my shoulder. "You did it within the rules," she said, voice tight. "Good, because the audit office called. They're escalating." My heart thudded. Escalation could mean investigation. It could also mean retaliation, most likely both. I looked at the auditorium doors and felt the weight of eyes I couldn't see. "Where do we start?" I asked. Juno's gaze hardened. "At the hospital," she said. "We pull the billing ledger. We find the second receipt." Vesper sat across the river in a district that smelled like disinfectant and old grief. Juno and I arrived with legal requests and audit authorization. The records clerk, a tired man with ink-stained fingers, greeted us with practiced caution. "Older files are archived off-site," he said. "Processing can take weeks." Juno smiled without warmth. "The audit office considers this urgent," she said. The clerk swallowed and typed. An hour later, he returned with a thin folder and eyes that refused to meet ours. "This is what remains," he said. The folder contained my birth record, Lyra's birth record, and one missing line where a payment entry should have been. Someone had physically cut out a strip of paper. My stomach twisted. Juno exhaled sharply. "They literally cut it," she murmured. The clerk's voice trembled. "I didn't," he began. I held up my phone. "May I ask?" I said calmly. "Who accessed the file recently?" The clerk hesitated. "Logs are restricted," he whispered. Juno leaned in. "Restricted does not mean inaccessible," she said. "The audit office can subpoena." The clerk's shoulders sagged. He typed again, hands shaking. "3 days ago," he said. "A corporate liaison accessed the archive. Valen Foundation ID." My vision narrowed. Father's foundation. The gala had been a distraction. They'd moved to destroy paper while donors clapped. I tasted anger like pennies. Juno placed a hand on my arm. "We expected this," she murmured. "But now we have a new receipt. The attempt to erase. That's evidence too." I nodded, forcing breath. "Who was the liaison?" I asked. The clerk shook his head. "Name not recorded," he said. "Just badge." Juno's eyes turned sharp. "Then we trace the badge," she said. "Badges have logs. Logs have backups. Backups have people who forget to delete." She looked at me. "Paper," she said. I dipped my chin. "Paper," I repeated. The second receipt existed. They wouldn't fight to destroy something that didn't matter. That night, Father invited me to his office again. The door sealed. His face was calm. Too calm. "You embarrass the family," he said. I sat without waiting, because I was tired of tone games. "You swapped a baby," I said. Father's eyes narrowed. "You have no proof," he replied. I smiled, barely. "You cut a billing ledger," I said. "That's not what innocent people do." Father's jaw tightened. He opened a drawer and pulled out a sealed envelope. He set it on the desk between us. "Open it," he said. Inside was a check, an amount that could buy an apartment, a car, a new life. "Take it," he said. "Leave quietly. We will fund your education elsewhere. You will be comfortable. Lyra remains our daughter publicly. You can live your life. This is the cleanest outcome." My stomach turned. "You're buying me again?" I said softly. Father's eyes didn't flinch. "I'm offering you stability," he said. I leaned forward, voice cold. "Cade died because stability cost money we didn't have," I said. "You're offering me comfort in exchange for my silence. That's not stability. That's a bribe." Father's patience snapped. "Do you know what happens if this becomes criminal?" he hissed. "The company collapses. Thousands lose jobs. The port contracts fail. The city economy suffers. You will be responsible." He threw the word responsible like a chain. I stared at him. Then I laughed, one short sound, sharp. "You're threatening me with consequences you created," I said. "You're using strangers as human shields." Father's eyes flashed. "You think you're moral because you're poor," he spat. I stopped laughing. "No," I answered. "I think you're immoral because you think money absolves you." Silence. Father's chest rose and fell slowly. "What do you want?" he asked again, more dangerous now. I held his gaze. "The truth," I said, "and for you to say Cade's name out loud." Father blinked, almost startled. "Why?" he asked. I smiled without joy. "Because if you can't say it," I said, "then you know she mattered. And if she mattered, then you know what you did was real." Father's mouth tightened. He didn't say it. Not once. That was my answer. Cassian confronted me in the garden the next day. The koi pond glittered behind him, peaceful like a lie. He looked exhausted, hair slightly disheveled, suit collar undone. "You're pushing him too far," he said. "He will destroy you." I studied Cassian. He wasn't just a villain. He was an heir trained to absorb family sins like inheritance. "Did you know?" I asked quietly. Cassian's eyes flickered. "I knew something," he admitted. "I knew there was a settlement. I knew a nurse got paid. I didn't know details." He swallowed. "Father said it was to protect the company. A scandal would have ruined everything." I nodded slowly. "So, you chose image over a child," I said. Cassian's face twisted. "We were children too," he snapped. "Lyra was there. She was our sister. We loved her." "And you couldn't love me," I said. Cassian's voice broke, just a crack. "I didn't know you existed," he whispered. "And when you appeared, you threatened everything I've spent my life holding together." I stared at the koi pond. The fish swam in circles, contained. "Everything you held together was built on theft," I said. Cassian's jaw clenched. "If you expose him, Lyra gets destroyed too," he said. "The world will call her a fraud." I looked at him. "Lyra is not a fraud," I said. "She's a person who was used. But she has to stop letting you use her as a shield." Cassian's eyes softened briefly. "She can't," he whispered. "She's fragile." I dipped my chin. "Fragile people still have agency," I said. "If you truly love her, stop feeding her martyrdom. Let her be angry at the right people." Cassian flinched, as if the idea hurt. Then he said, voice low, "You want the second receipt? It's not just money, it's a promise." I froze. "What promise?" I asked. Cassian looked away. "Father promised someone a seat," he said. "On the board. A contract. A marriage. Something to secure silence." My pulse thundered. "Who?" I demanded. Cassian's lips pressed tight. "I don't know," he said, "but I can find out." He met my gaze, eyes raw. "If I help you," he said, "will you protect Lyra?" The request sounded like a plea. I breathed slowly. "I will not hurt her," I said, "but I will not lie for her either." Cassian nodded, grim. "Fair," he whispered. Then he walked away, leaving footprints on manicured grass like evidence. Lyra came to my room that night. She knocked softly, as if afraid I'd bite. I opened the door and found her standing with a small box in her hands. Her eyes were dry this time, expression tight. "Cassian told me you're hunting receipts," she said. I said nothing. She stepped inside. Her gaze landed on my shoebox and the stacks of printed documents. "You really keep everything," she murmured. I nodded, slow. "It's how I stay real," I said. Lyra swallowed. "I don't know who I am," she whispered. The confession startled me. She set the box on my desk. "This is yours," she said. I opened the box. Inside was a silver bracelet with a small charm shaped like a star. "It was in my baby keepsake drawer," she said. "Mother said it was given to me at birth. But when I looked at the engraving," she pointed, "the charm had initials. I, K, not L, V. My throat tightened. "I found it last year," Lyra said quickly, voice shaking. "I asked Mother about it. She said it was a mistake. She told me to stop asking. I didn't stop. I kept it." She looked at me, eyes fierce now. "I'm not stupid," she said. I wanted them to love me." The sentence landed heavy. I nodded slowly. "So did I said. Lyra flinched, then exhaled. "If you expose them," she whispered, "I lose everything." I met her gaze. "You lose the lie," I said. "Not yourself." Lyra's hands clenched. "You don't understand," she hissed. "They built me. Every friend, every sponsor, every scholarship, Cassian arranged. Mother curated my image. Father signed my future. Without them, I'm nothing." My voice went quiet. "That's what they taught you so you'd never leave," I said. Lyra's eyes filled, but she didn't cry. She looked at my receipts, my shoebox, my patched coat hanging on the chair. "You built yourself," she said, almost accusing. I nodded, steady. "With scraps," I said. "But yes." Lyra's chin lifted. "Then teach me," she whispered. The request shocked me. I studied her face and saw fear. Yes, but also rebellion, small and hungry. "First lesson," I said gently. "Stop calling yourself nothing." Lyra's breath hitched. "Second lesson," I added. "Tell the truth even if you shake." Lyra nodded, barely. Then she pulled a folded paper from her pocket and handed it to me. "I found this in Cassian's printer tray," she whispered. "He doesn't know." I unfolded it. It was a scan of an old contract. Valen Foundation consulting agreement with a private security firm, dated 16 years ago, containing a line item. Maternity Logistics, Unit 7. My skin went cold. Unit 7 was the hospital wing. The contract had a signature block with a name partially smudged, but the first 3 letters were clear. Halden. The same name. Father mentioned in passing once at dinner. A donor, a director. The promise had a name now. Lyra watched me, trembling. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I looked up at her. "Don't be sorry," I said. "Be specific." Juno helped us file a formal subpoena for Street Vespers archive backups and the Valen Foundation's badge logs. The audit office responded with slow caution, but the harassment complaint from Halcyon and the gala incident had forced them to act publicly. An investigator named Alan Morrow visited the estate with a neutral face and sharp questions. Father greeted him with charm and a hand on the shoulder. Morrow didn't flinch. "I'm here about a cut ledger," he said. Father's smile tightened. Mother offered tea. Morrow declined. "Who had access?" he asked. Father's eyes flicked to Cassian. Cassian's jaw tightened. "Foundation liaison," Father said smoothly. I have nothing to hide. Morrow glanced at me. Do you feel safe? He asked. The question caught in my throat. I thought of the grave photo. I thought of the boot print on my tag. I feel watched, I said. Morrow nodded once. That can be addressed, he said. Father's gaze sharpened, annoyed. Morrow continued. We will be reviewing all Foundation contracts with security vendors for the relevant period. Father's hand tightened on his chair. Cassian's face paled. Lyra sat very still, hands clasped. Jace watched Morrow like a lifeline. When Morrow left, Father's calm shattered behind the closed door. He called an emergency board meeting. He ordered Cassian to control the kids. He instructed Mother to manage Lyra. His voice was not loving. It was logistical. In that moment, the house felt less like a home and more like a corporation with bedrooms. Cassian found me in the library, surrounded by old books no one read. He shut the door and whispered, He's going to move assets. He's going to blame me. I raised an eyebrow. Are you surprised? I asked. Cassian flinched. No, he admitted, but it still hurts. I nodded, careful. Welcome, I said softly, to being disposable. Cassian's eyes burned. We need the second receipt now, he said. Before he erases it, I held up Lyra's contract scan. We have a path, I said. Halden. Cassian's jaw tightened. Halden Trusk, he murmured. The name tasted like acid. He's on 3 boards, Cassian said. He's friends with Father. He runs the hospital charity wing. My pulse spiked. Then he's exactly the kind of person who can make paper disappear, I said. Cassian nodded grimly. And exactly the kind of person who can be caught, he added, because men like him keep trophies. We went to Trusk's charity event under false smiles. The venue was a glass atrium overlooking the bay, filled with donors wearing expensive gilt. Trusk stood near a sculpture of a mother and child, as if irony were decor. He was older than his photos suggested, hair silver, eyes sharp. When he saw Father, his smile widened. When he saw me, his smile faltered, then recovered. Ah, he said, voice smooth. The returned daughter. The words were polite poison. I smiled back. And you must be Halden, I said. You have a reputation. Trusk's eyes gleamed. So do you, he replied. Father's hand pressed lightly against my back, warning. Cassian hovered. Lyra stood behind Mother, face pale but composed. Jace lingered near the refreshment table, pretending to be bored while watching everything. Juno, not invited, waited outside in a car, ready to receive any evidence we could obtain. Our plan was simple. Get Trusk to reveal his trophy. Men like him like to brag. They like to remind you they own secrets. I approached Trusk alone while Father was distracted by another donor. I heard you helped renovate Street Vesper's maternity wing, I said lightly. Trusk's smile sharpened. Philanthropy is my hobby, he said. I gave a small nod. Again. You must have seen many births, I said. Many families. Trusk's eyes narrowed. Yes, he said. And many mistakes. The word mistakes was a hook. I let it hang. Some mistakes, I said softly, become very profitable. Trusk's gaze flicked to my wrist where the faint scar from my infant band still lingered. His smile returned, cold. You're a clever girl, he murmured. Careful. Clever girls get tired. My skin crawled. I don't get tired, I said. I get receipts. Trusk chuckled. Receipts are paper, he said. Paper burns. I leaned closer, voice sweet. So, do reputations, I said. Trusk's eyes glittered with threat and amusement. If you want the story, he whispered, ask your father what he promised me. I smiled. I'm asking you, I said. Trusk hesitated, then made a decision. Come, he said, gesturing toward a side corridor. I'll show you something. My heart slammed. Cassian's gaze met mine across the room. He saw the movement. Jace subtly picked up his phone. Lyra's face tightened. I followed Trusk into a private lounge lined with framed certificates. He walked to a cabinet and opened it. Inside were medals, old photos, and a small sealed envelope in a display box, labeled Unit 7 Verified. My breath caught. Trusk smiled. Beautiful, isn't it? He murmured. The day a dynasty stayed clean. He tapped the glass. Inside is the transfer confirmation, he said. A second receipt, as you call it. I kept it because I like knowing I can ruin people who forget gratitude. I stared at the envelope, throat tight. You kept evidence of a crime, I said. Trusk shrugged. It's only a crime if the city wants to prosecute, he said. And the city likes donors. I smiled, even as nausea rose. Then the city will love the donation you're about to make, I said. Trusk frowned. What donation? He asked. I lifted my phone. The one to the audit office, I said, and tapped the screen to reveal a live call. Trusk's face went blank. The lounge door opened behind me. Cassian stepped in, followed by Investigator Morrow. Juno had called him from the car the moment Jace texted the corridor location. Morrow's badge flashed. Mr. Trusk, Morrow said calmly. Step away from the cabinet. Trusk's face shifted from shock to fury. This is harassment, he snapped. Morrow's voice didn't change. This is evidence, he said. The second receipt, displayed like a trophy, suddenly looked like a noose. Trusk tried to laugh it off, claiming the envelope contained donation records and private memorabilia. Morrow didn't argue. He simply photographed, logged, and sealed the evidence with bureaucratic precision. Cassian watched, face pale but steady. I stood with my hands clasped behind my back so no one would see them shaking. Trusk's eyes pinned me. You think you've won? He hissed. I met his eyes, again. No, I replied. I think I've started. Morrow escorted the envelope out. Trusk's shoulders sagged slightly, then stiffened. Your father won't survive this, he whispered. I swallowed. Maybe he shouldn't, I said. The words tasted like metal. I didn't want destruction for its own sake. I wanted accountability. But accountability in a rich family often feels like destruction because the structure is built on denial. The fallout hit within hours. News broke first as whispers, then headlines. Hospital swap scandal. Donor under investigation. Valen Foundation linked to maternity bribery. Halcyon students shared clips from the gala, now reframed as bravery rather than drama. The Valen board convened an emergency session. Father locked himself in his office, making calls, offering settlements, threatening lawsuits. Cassian confronted him. The argument shook the house, voices echoing down marble corridors. Mother sat in Lyra's room and held her while she shook, finally letting tears fall without performance. Jace wandered into my room silently and sat on the floor beside my shoebox. So it's real, he said, voice hollow. I nodded, once more. It was always real, I replied. Jace stared at the receipts. How do you live after you learn your family is a contract? He asked. I thought of Cade's hands, calloused, honest. You build a different family, I said. One you choose. Jace swallowed. Can I be part of it? He whispered. I hesitated. Then I nodded once. If you tell the truth, I said. Jace nodded back, trembling. I will, he promised. Lyra broke next, not in a collapse but in a confession. She requested a meeting with Investigator Morrow and offered testimony about the bracelet, about the time she overheard Mother and Father arguing in whispers, about Cassian's narrative containment emails. She admitted she'd known something was wrong and had stayed quiet because she was afraid. I don't want to be a stolen house, she said, voice shaking. I want to be a person. Morrow listened, recorded, nodded. When Lyra left the office, she looked lighter, as if truth had removed a chain. Cassian watched her with something like pride and grief. She's braver than we gave her credit for, he whispered. I nodded, this time. She's braver than they trained her to be, I said. The legal process moved slowly, because law is a machine that pretends time is neutral. But machines can be fed. We fed it evidence. Trusk was charged with bribery and obstruction. The Valen Foundation's security contracts were audited. Father faced fraud and conspiracy charges. The board forced his permanent resignation to protect shares. He attempted to transfer assets to offshore accounts. Morrow froze them. Cassian testified against him in exchange for immunity from certain liability, choosing truth over inheritance. Mother filed for divorce and publicly apologized, not with theatrics, but with one sentence that shook the city. I chose comfort over my child. The confession was imperfect, late, but real enough to crack the marble. Jace left the estate and moved into a small apartment near my old salvage district, insisting he needed to learn reality. Lyra began volunteering at the same shelter Cade once visited, quietly, without cameras. Halcyon expelled the student council officer who coordinated rumors. The school issued a statement about lessons learned. It was corporate apology, but the students knew who had forced it. A girl with receipts. When the Drift District Community Center opened a new repair lab, Juno invited me to teach workshops. How to read contracts, how to document harassment, how to file audit complaints, how to keep paper. I stood in front of a group of teens in patched jackets and expensive sneakers alike because scandals mix demographics, and I showed them how to turn humiliation into record. They will tell you to be grateful, I said. Gratitude is fine, but gratitude without rights is a leash. The teens nodded, eyes sharp. After class, Lyra approached, hands in her coat pockets. I don't know how to be without the stage, she admitted. I turned to her. Then be backstage, I said. Do work no one claps for. That's where real people live. Lyra nodded slowly. Cassian arrived later with a box of old family documents he'd salvaged before Father could burn them. He set them on the table like surrender. More paper, he said, voice hoarse. I nodded without speaking. All right, I said. Paper can rebuild too. Months after Father's arrest, I visited him once in a holding facility because closure isn't a gift. It's something you take. He sat behind glass, hair more gray, eyes still sharp. He smiled when he saw me, as if we were negotiating again. You got what you wanted, he said. I watched him. I got evidence, I said. Not what I wanted. He frowned. What did you want? He asked. I leaned toward the glass. I wanted you to say her name, I said quietly. Father's eyes flickered. Cade, he said at last, the syllable tasting foreign in his mouth. My throat went tight. I didn't cry. I just nodded once. Good, I said. Father's smile returned, weak. I did what I had to, he murmured. I shook my head slowly. No, I replied again. You did what you chose. And now you get to live with it. I stood to leave. Father's voice sharpened. You think you're better? He demanded. I paused, hand on the door. No, I said honestly. I'm just done being bought. Then I walked out, and the door sealed behind me with a soft click that sounded like the end of a contract. On the first warm day of spring, I took Cade's shoebox to her grave. I didn't bring flowers. Cade hated waste. I brought the laminated tag now returned from evidence after being photographed and archived wrapped in plastic. I knelt in the grass and placed it beside the headstone. The city wind smelled of salt and exhaust. I spoke quietly. Not for ghosts, but for myself. They know now, I said. They can't pretend. I paused, then added, I'm still here. The words felt like a vow. Behind me, footsteps approached. I turned and saw Lyra, Cassian, and Jace standing awkwardly with a small bundle. It was a cheap kite, patched with tape,